Okay, first, Delhi is literally trying to make it rain with the air quality slipping deep into the severe zone. The city has now turned to cloud seeding in a last-ditch effort to clean its skies. The plan is to trigger artificial rain that can help settle some of the toxic dust choking the capital. It is a measure born out of helplessness because Delhi's air emergency has stopped feeling like an emergency. This is now the new normal. Every winter, the same story repeats itself. The air quality index across the city is sitting firmly in the severe range. Post-Diwali smoke, crop fires from Punjab and Haryana and the stagnant winter winds have once again turned Delhi NCR into a gas chamber. Every breath carries fine particulate matter small enough to enter the bloodstream and damage the lungs and heart. There's also a health aspect to it, and it's almost running as seriously and parallelly as the visuals of the smog that we wake up to every morning. The State of Global Air 2025 report shows India's pollution crisis runs far deeper. India reported close to 2 million pollution-linked deaths last year. Air pollution is now the second leading cause of disease in the country. 9 in 10 of those deaths were linked to heart, lung or brain diseases. All of it goes back to air pollution at the source. The biggest culprit is PM 2.5, particles invisible to the eye, smaller than a strand of hair. India's safety limit for PM 2.5 is 8 times higher than what the World Health Organization recommends. That's how poorly we're failing at it. That means every person in India is breathing air that already violates global safety norms. Scientists are now linking long-term exposure not just to lung disease but also to dementia, to diabetes and heart failure. Nearly 70% of COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, all of these cases in India are connected to air pollution. The National Clean Air Program was in fact meant to fix just this, but the progress has been minimal. India's air quality standards haven't been revised since 2009. No major Indian city currently meets the WHO Clean Air benchmark. So the human cost is very much real. Children in Delhi are losing years of healthy life. Infants born in high pollution areas face greater risk of lung damage and low birth weight. Outdoor workers breathe poison every single day, year after year. So experts say India needs stronger national standards for PM 2.5, tighter emission limits, cleaner public transport and serious accountability for results. Because cloud seeding might bring temporary relief, but the real rain Delhi needs is political win. So joining us this morning to take that conversation forward and tell us all about the phenomena that we're in all likelihood and fingers crossed for that, set to witness in the national capital, Manindra Agarwal, Director at IIT Kanpur and the lead behind Cloud Seeding Project is with us this morning. Good morning, Professor Agarwal. Thank you for being with us here on the Breakfast Club. We've spoken of this broader challenge staring at us year in and out, Professor Agarwal. You've come up with this great experiment which is going to see the light anytime soon. How soon? First tell us that, because we've seen repeated delays given the weather conditions and how they've not been suitable for artificial rain being carried out in the national capital region. What is the schedule looking like now?
Well, we are expecting some clouds to be there over next few days. So hopefully we will be able to do the seeding. But as you said, there is no certainty here. Everything depends on the availability of clouds and the moisture content in them. So that's our limiting constraint.
There needs to be a certain moisture in the clouds for cloud seeding to happen effectively. Professor Agarwal, you've been decoding that story. You've joined us every now and then to explain the entire phenomena. But let's repeat that little magic that this experiment is likely to create. What exactly happens when the aircraft enters the cloud, injects silver iodide? Tell us a little bit about the science in simple terms so our viewers understand what really happens when we carry out this experiment.
It's actually very simple. There is no magic here. What happens is that the aircraft actually flies below the clouds and fires flares which heat up the air around it. And then it injects a very finely ground mixture of various kind of salts into that air. And because the air is hot, the mixture rises up into the clouds. And each tiny globule of this mixture, measuring somewhere around a few microns in diameter. When it gets into the clouds, and cloud has moisture, so the water drop starts condensing around this each globule. And when it becomes a reasonable size, then just by sheer gravity, it drops down as a raindrop. And that's what makes it rain.
Okay, and in an ideal scenario, Professor Agarwal, if this experiment indeed does see success the next few days, what could the AQI then be? So for instance, if it's peaking at 400 in some areas, 350 in most areas on an average, what will it bring down the AQI in Delhi NCR to? And for how long will we be able to sustain that?
So again, this would depend on how large the cloud cover is, and how much moisture is available in the clouds.
Okay.
Because the actual amount of rain will depend on these two factors. But suppose we are able to do some seeding and cause certain amount of rain, we certainly expect AQI to drop significantly. Now, exactly how significantly, as I said, it will depend on these two factors that I mentioned. And this drop generally stays on for a few days. So the source of pollution is still there, so they will keep pumping in newer and newer polluting particles into the air, so that eventually AQI will go up.
Professor Agarwal, now tell us what the science behind this entire experiment has been. What's been the driving force in particular for you and your entire team? Because this time of the year, normally when winter sets in, the cloud conditions are not quite in favor of the entire phenomenon of cloud seeding. So you'll see very little, or there'll be very little expectation of rainfall. Now, in that case, year after year, how much can we depend on artificial rain?
Yeah, not by a large amount. In fact, I would say that we should ideally strive to create a situation where cloud seeding is not required at all. Cloud seeding is a measure that is, as you mentioned earlier, an emergency measure.
Yeah.
When the air quality is very poor and we don't have many other options left. As per IMD analysis of the weather data, in the winter months, we probably get clouds which have with some reasonable moisture content about once in 10 days on average. And so that's when the seeding can be done. And it would, let's say, if all goes well, then the AQI does come down and there is a relief from pollution for a few days. So it would then look like a curve going up and down of AQI. When the seeding happens, it will go down. After some time, it will recover. Then there will be clouds in, say, about 10 odd days. Then we can do seeding again.
Professor Agarwal? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was also just meaning to ask, since we're speaking so much about chemical components like silver iodide, for instance, a lot of experts have also pointed to how there is very little research on the long-term impact of the same, and if rain were triggered using this as a means, very little research has been done on the long-term impact on human health and agriculture, for instance. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you're right that there doesn't exist a lot of research. A few iterations of cloud seeding have almost no impact because the silver iodide quantity that it sprays is very, very minuscule. Just to give you a sense, if we do seeding over 100 square kilometer area, the amount of silver iodide we will spray would be less than a kilogram. So it means that just about 10 grams per square kilometer silver iodide is spread, which is negligible amount. Now, if you do cloud seeding thousands and tens of thousands time at the same region, then it may accumulate. But I think our target should be not to reach that stage at all. Do cloud seeding right now because that's required to alleviate pollution. And if you in a few years time, I think we should ensure that the sources of pollution itself are cut.
And this is not a new phenomena in its entirety, Professor Agarwal. We've seen artificial rain take place in other parts of the world, China, UAE, parts of US. We've seen it being carried out successfully. We've also seen it happen in other parts in India, for instance, Karnataka and Maharashtra. The driving force, the motivation there, of course, was agricultural reasons. How different, this exercise which is going to be carried out in Delhi NCR, how different or similar is it to the ones that have taken place in other parts of the country? And tell us a little bit about the success rate too.
Yeah, so it's very similar to the exercises which have been done in the past outside country as well. China did it during Beijing Olympic times when Beijing had a very serious case of air pollution, and they used cloud seeding to elevate that. But they also worked on a long-term plan so that today there is no need for cloud seeding in Beijing. Their air quality is reasonably good. UAE does primarily for drought elevation, and they very regularly do this air cloud seeding, and quite successfully also. In Maharashtra and Karnataka, they did cloud seeding again for drought relief and achieved some success. But the trade-off, I think what they found, as I understand, I don't know full details, but the cost versus value trade-off was not very good. So that's why they discontinued. And the reason for the very high cost was that these seedings were done by entities outside the country who brought in their plane and pilots, everything from outside. And therefore it became exceptionally expensive.
Professor Agarwal, of the story we understand and of the explaining that you've done, it seems to be that there's a very small window when this experiment can be carried out. How much hope can then be pinned onto this experiment? Because if the cloud formation is huge, if intense rainfall is predicted as is, there's no point doing cloud seeding. And that's exactly why we've seen a delay in the recent past too, why this experiment could not be carried out. If there's insufficient cloud formation, if there's not enough moisture content, even then the experiment cannot be carried out. So there's a very sleek window that is available here.
Absolutely, you are right. And that's why the study of IMD that I mentioned, that the kind of clouds where we can do seeding during winter months are available on average about once in 10 days.
Okay, once in 10 days. Is that the reason why there is also one section of experts that's coming out with a lot of criticism, and they're saying this is nothing but a gimmick? So we're not being able to tackle the problem in its entirety. We're trying to come up with possible solutions. This is one such tool, but it's really not the cure.
It's not the cure. Absolutely right. This is not the cure. The cure has to be curbing the sources of pollution. But it is a useful tool for current situation. That is, you have two options. Either just live through the current high AQI or do something like seeding to bring down the AQI. So that's the state we are in today. So given the current context, this can be a useful tool.
Largely, if I zoom out a little, Professor Agarwal, from cloud seeding to the overall AQI problem in Delhi NCR, it's a year in and out phenomena. We see it every time, this time around, sort of peaks, during the burning of crop residue in neighboring states, Diwali festivities, all of that has been spoken of. And there are so many factors. That's why this entire story is so complex, cannot be wholly pinned onto one sole reason. What's been your analysis of some of the major contributors and what can be done effectively then? Because you've been closely associated with this entire story too.
So I am no expert here, but we have very good experts in IIT Kanpur who have done such studies. And as per their analysis, some of the major sources of pollution are this burning of crop in neighboring states, the emission from vehicles, the fire, which is in tandoor and coal and such things which happen all over the city. And so these three together, I would say, contribute the major component of the pollution into the city.
And which of the three is cloud seeding or artificial rain aiming to tackle? at the
So
end?
it would be, say, they all pump in PM 2.5
Yeah.
and PM 10 particles. So cloud seeding will address everything. That is, it will just bring down the level of 2.5 and PM 10 particles.
Okay.
So, but in terms of long-term solution, well, we need to switch to probably electric vehicles and convince the neighboring state farmers not to burn the crop. And these are the things that we need to aim for long-term solution.
So this would be then termed as an emergency measure.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can reach a point where we're not going to have to get down to using this as an emergency response, but we do have an interim arrangement in the meanwhile. Thank you so much, Professor Agarwal, for joining us with all those brilliant talking points and that great idea that perhaps is going to be seeing some success in days to come. Thank you for joining us this morning. Also joining us now is Chandra Bhushan. He's the President and CEO of iFOREST, one of India's foremost environmental policy voices. Good morning, Mr. Bhushan. Thank you for being with us. Mr. Bhushan, we largely the last few minutes decoded the entire cloud seeding story with Professor Agarwal. He's one of the brains behind this experiment that's going to be carried out. So just to piece it together, first up, I do want your response on what you make of this experiment, because National Capital Region is in days to come, as on expected lines, going to witness artificial rain.
Well, there are known unknowns in cloud seeding. We are not the first country who is going to try cloud seeding. And in fact, Delhi is not the first state. India has been experimenting with cloud seeding for 30 years. In fact, right now, there is an ongoing project in Maharashtra done by, again, a very premier institution, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, which is experimenting on cloud seeding to increase rainfall in drought-hit areas of Maharashtra. As far as countries are concerned, Dubai uses cloud seeding, and our neighbor, Pakistan, in fact, Lahore, has tried cloud seeding for the past couple of years. But the fact is this, the results are not there. I mean to say, in Lahore, for example, which we studied very carefully, because the topography, the sources of pollution, the climatic conditions in Lahore and Delhi are very similar. And we found that, first of all, it is not that even if you have cloud, it will rain. That is point number one. First of all, you need cloud for cloud seeding to happen. Number two, even if you have cloud, it is not necessary that it will rain. Number three, it is possible that if it rains, it will only rain in a small pocket. It is not going to rain, in the entire area. And therefore, there are sporadic rainfall, small reduction, dip in pollution level in a certain area. There are no long-term, in fact, even days, reduction in air pollution. So I am happy that IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur is trying this, all for experiments. But the fact is, I think it is important for academic institution in India. IIT Kanpur also proposed that smog tower that we have in Delhi.
Yeah.
And it is extremely important that academic institution in India come with scientific rigor, put policy paper and white paper in public domain for transparent comments. India has huge brain power, technical ability to advise them. It is not only IIT Kanpur that knows how to solve the air pollution problem. We have been tackling with air pollution problem for 20 years. So let them experiment. I think it's fine, but I want to be wrong. If I am wrong, the city will, gain. But if I am right...
Mr. Bhushan, that's the big challenge, no? Because all brain power is being put to use, but unfortunately, we're seeing very little success. Now, you spoke of one word, topography, and that's in particular very important here, because that's one of the main factors why, despite so much effort, despite so much science being put to use, we're not able to tackle this problem overall. Because I was reading it somewhere and it was so beautifully put out that Delhi NCR, or this entire belt, is literally like a water pond. So like you accumulate water, that's how air gets trapped across this region. A lot of experts have also spoken of airshed approach. What are your thoughts there? Do you think that's the way forward? It's not an effort that can be limited to Delhi NCR alone?
So first of all, air pollution cannot be solved within an administrative boundary. Okay, because pollution is not only generated within an administrative boundary. Delhi pollution comes from outside, Delhi's pollution goes outside. And we have about 200 kilometer to 300 kilometer area where the air quality is affected by all the polluting activities. So point number one, I think that either Delhi air pollution will only get solved if the entire regional pollution problem gets solved. You cannot solve Delhi's air pollution in isolation. So I think the professor in the end said that states will have to work together. Absolutely. Delhi pollution cannot be solved by Delhi government. And I think all the politicians from Arvind Kejriwal to the new administration, which is making promises, they know that they cannot deliver. It is not scientifically possible for Delhi government to assure the kind of pollution reduction they are promising. They can do everything within the administrative boundary, but more than 50% of pollution in Delhi comes from outside, even within the NCR area. Leave stubble burning. We have reasonably good air quality considering past few years because stubble burning has not started.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time when the stubble burning will start. You will see far more deterioration in air quality. So regional approach, airshed approach is the way to go. But the bottom line is this. We are not the only country trying to solve this problem, right? China solved it, US solved it, Europe has solved it. And the answer is there are no shortcuts. Environmental problem cannot be solved by quick fixes or on cheap. There are fundamentals that everyone has done and we will also have to do. There are no way we can solve this problem by putting an interceptor drain to clean Yamuna or doing cloud seeding to clean our air. That's not going to happen.
Okay, another thing which I did speak of right at the beginning of my explainer was what about policy implementation? So there are a lot of initiatives that are shaping up. There's also the National Clean Air Action Plan 2.0. It's under works already. Mr. Bhushan, what are your expectations there and what more needs to be done? What are we not getting right?
I think, first of all, let's understand, and as I said, we understand what are the major sources of air pollution in the region. First of all, it is not, useful to only talk about air pollution sources within Delhi. So we understand what are the major sources of pollution in the region. Say, for example, in fact, iFOREST, my organization, we have done a very detailed inventory study in 150 kilometer radius, from Agra till Alwar. That is the kind of area, entire NCR plus couple of districts gives you a radius of about 150 kilometers. And we find that majority of the pollution comes from burning biomass and coal. Whether coal and biomass in industries, stubble burning, which is biomass burning, or cooking and heating fuel. During winters, we also burn significant amount of biomass to keep ourselves warm. Whether we are burning coal or we burn cow dung cakes. So we have, if we know that the sources of pollution, and therefore, if we want to solve air pollution problem, then we will have to tackle the biggest sources of pollution, which we have not done. Cooking fuel, for example. I always tell people that Pradhan Mantri, the Yojana of giving LPG is the biggest air pollution action that India has taken. It is not Euro 1, Euro 2 or Euro 3 in automobile sector. We have gained the maximum by shifting people from biomass and coal cooking to LPG cooking. And I started by saying that there are fundamentals we all have to do. No country in the world has solved air pollution problem without addressing solid fuel, which is biomass and coal. So we will have to make sure through incentive, through better reach, change in cooking fuel, use in the country, especially within the region. Stubble burning must stop because it is not only about air pollution, it is also about soil health and ecological health. Electric vehicle is already there. I think that all of us, our next vehicle is going to be EV and not internal combustion engine. And industrial pollution will have to be tackled. There are no shortcuts. This is what I'm trying to say.
And very interestingly, you also pointed out, Mr. Bhushan, how every report, every study speaking of vehicular emissions, stubble burning, construction activities, but there's a story that's supposed to be unled beyond these terminologies, which is not happening, unfortunately. Mr. Bhushan, thank you so much. There are other aspects that we wanted to speak about. For instance, so worrying that in 2023 alone, and this is Global Air Report that's flagged how more than 2 million deaths took place due to air pollution. That's the worry here, and that's why this story needs the kind of discussion that we're trying to bring forth. Thank you, Mr. Bhushan, for joining us this morning.